We've got over 5 million Kenyans who are living in the diaspora, but, well, the numbers keep fluctuating. But the lead of the Diaspora Technical Working Group, Danson Mukile, is our guest for the next hour. Good morning, Danson.
Good morning, Latif.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
This is where we fix the nation, one conversation at a time.
Always watch.
I know you've been watching us from Maju. In which part of Maju are you?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
Karibu.
The St. Texas.
Yes.
I was gonna be like, I wanted him to say it in a Texas drawl, but that's maybe
Texas
asking
drawl.
for too much. So Nisawa.
Kenyans, we are very good when it comes to Dallas and Texas. It's about singing country music. We are very good. Everyone consider there's no Kenyan who doesn't know
Coward
that
of the King.
Coward of.
You can imagine how much this happens on the dinner
Mariam is
table
looking
for
at me
him when
those
he
ones
comes
of
here.
Ati.
No, I know Coward of the County.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, is Coward of the County the same as... No, Gambler is different.
Gabra is a
Yes,
different one.
yes,
Gambler.
yes.
He's
You
a
got to
Gabra.
know when to hold 'em.
Yes.
Know when to fold 'em. Know when to... The rest
Walk
of the
away.
Oh.
Know when
Wisdom.
to run.
Wisdom in the lyrics. Love it.
So Janet, please welcome Danson with the days.
I thought you were going to say welcome dance, and then I start ululating.
Why did I...
It's okay. Ululation is part of who we are. Warson Shire said, no one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. Reflect on that for us. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark.
I think it has both direct and indirect. Directly, when things are not good home, you leave. I'm a good example. When things were not good here, I left and went to the US to work, study and work as well. But on the other side is that universally, when you are faced with a situation that is uncomfortable to you, the best thing is to walk away. Yeah, walking away is the halfway of solving something. Yeah, so that's how I can interpret it.
Some might argue it's important to try and make home work. So yes, you can walk away. There's wisdom in that, in saying I have another opportunity.
Yeah.
I could do better. I could work and provide for my family.
Yeah.
Others might argue, but you have to make home work.
Yeah, you can go and come back and fix.
Fair enough.
So
Going step aside.
Yes.
Step aside.
Yes.
And come
Empower
back.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right. How long have you been living in Dallas, Texas?
It's now going to 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to different states. So currently I'm in Dallas, Texas, but I was in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah. You said you left because, things weren't good. What was happening 10 years ago, 2015?
Yeah.
What was happening?
In Kenya?
Yes, yes.
Of course, I was a student, just a fresh graduate. Things were different. Of course, the economy wasn't doing well when you are living here. Unemployment was also high. So it has been a journey. I see now we have a lot of digitization. It wasn't there that time. So there are so many things that have been changing since 2015 I left. So, yeah.
You know, what you're saying, if someone is leaving right now to go to the US or anywhere else in the world, they tell you the same thing. Unemployment, the economy is in the gutter. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But what prompted you to look for opportunities abroad as opposed to wacha tu, ni kufia pa home, like, yeah, we'll figure this out,
Yeah, here in Kenya, the systems have not been fixed in a way that it can actually accommodate the fresh graduates. If you compare with the US or Europe, you already know, once you finish in college, you already know where you're going to. So here, I think for me, when I was growing up, I knew when I finish, I'll go to work to government. Everyone knows, ukimaliza shule, unaenda gava. Now, things are not like that. It's actually the government that supposed to provide favorable environment and stop this corruption, people doing bad things, and create more opportunities for Kenyans, actually. So the private sector is should be the highest employer.
I agreed.
Yes.
Right, that's true.
Not the government.
Not the government. This might be a broad question, but what are the real urgent concerns that Kenyans in the diaspora perhaps keep raising that you don't feel are being either heard or taken up by the government back home?
Of course, we are very current to what is happening. And the current issues that are happening in the country, the diasporans are very uncomfortable. The abductions that have been happening, the killings, the police brutality. So we are current to the affairs that is going on, despite having our own issues. And Kenyans in the diaspora are very much well informed. I'll shock you that the first newspaper, when it goes out, we always get it before another person in the country. So we are current to the issues that have been going on in the country, and they are very uncomfortable. We have seen them hosting spaces, writing articles about it. But when it comes to their specific issue, the one that I've been addressing is about the democratic right. The 2010 Constitution gave us the right to vote because we became dual citizens. But this has not been universally offered. So unfortunately, the institutions that have been mandated to do that, like IBC and other stakeholders, have not been doing it. It's very unfortunate that, as Latif was mentioning, we don't have the exact number of Kenyans in the diaspora. It's quite unfortunate. We estimate we are over 4 million. And out of 4 million, we have only 10,000 registered as voters. 10,000.
In the entire diaspora or just in the States?
Entire diaspora.
10,000.
In the
US.
US.
Because the systems...
Out of the around
45 million
out there.
Yes.
That's a huge disservice
And
to your...
the 57% diaspora remittance to the country, which is US, has less than 500 people
Registered.
Wait,
registered.
And every...
rewind, selector. Say that again.
So the US alone has less than 500
Registered.
to vote. Yet we remit 67% of the current diaspora remittance, which is at 5 billion.
Billions. I was going to say billions. Yeah. And that...
USD.
Yeah.
The total amount that Kenyans outside of Kenya, let's even count those ones in TZ, a majority of the money coming from the US, last year, 641 billion shillings.
Yes.
And
Our
yet,
budget for education is around 600 to 700 billion shillings. Kenyans in the diaspora can fund education alone.
And that doesn't give you any representation or political
And even
influence.
fund JKIA,
And
create a
fund
new
JKIA.
airport.
Yes,
Yeah.
and not over 10 years. One.
Yeah.
Once,
Doesn't give you
one
any,
financial year.
Yeah, and there's no political influence or representation. Let's start with influence, because 600 billion.
It's a lot of money.
That's financial muscle that should be recognized enough to have political influence and representation. So where does the math break down?
So unfortunately, there has not been like that. Every election cycle, our Weshimiwa, as they're doing now, they're coming to the US. They spend a lot of time in the US because of money. They'll come tell us, tuandikie, andika kamemo, tutashughulikia, as usual. Every election cycle, we go through the same. They give us those promises, except I think 2022. 2020 is unique because I was part of the team that we approached the president, and we sat down with him and said, this cannot continue. Then he told us what you guys want from what you've been doing for the country. He appreciates the remittance, to be honest. Today we are the #1 foreign exchange earner. Yeah, we have been
beating tourism and agriculture and everything else.
Tukombele sana.
Okay.
Wow.
And we have been, as we see the PS and even the president talking about our shilling is stable, things like that. Guess who is stabilizing the shilling? The diaspora. Yeah. So we have been doing a lot. And when we sat down with him, we gave him our demands. That #1, for us to participate fully in your government, give us an office. So we had a directorate in the foreign affairs, which I'll shock you that the only thing it was doing was people to report who has died in the Middle East. So mzazi hapo tu alikuwa anaenda ana report mtoto wangu. Then we're given now, we asked for the ministry for diaspora because we justified sending a lot of money back home. There's a lot of skills that come in this country. But when I met him in New York after he won the presidency, he said, of course, there's that constitutional provision that caps how many ministries that we can have. And then there was issue with budget and also the law. So
What about a State Department?
So now he gave us the State Department for diaspora. Now that is our home. So today, if you are in the diaspora and you have an issue, we have a State Department. But it's unfortunate, we were given the State Department, now kafinya budget. So tuko nayo tu hapa inangangana. So we are like, Mr. President, $5 billion na State Department inapewa a drop in the ocean. I think we should equally be funded because there's so much the diasporans can offer to this country. A classic example is today. We are here with over 100 diasporans, 60 nurses inclusive. They have booked their own ticket, bought the equipment and accommodation, logistics. They're just coming to give back to our hospitals, train our nurses. They're going to like Kipia, they'll be in Meru, they'll be in Machakos, just to give back. So how much can we do more? We have so much skills. I work in aviation, and there's so much you can offer to this country. But unless the institution that actually is supposed now to coordinate for us is fully funded,
it becomes difficult.
Yeah.
I had like a light bulb moment, and then the light bulb went off because it threaded. I was like, if there's 4-5 million Kenyans in the diaspora, even if the adults are half of that, right? And 3/4 of them registered to vote and voted, that would be a significant voter block, right? So that was the light bulb. I was like, I see a future. And I asked myself, how does voting work in the diaspora? How has it worked previously? How do you exercise your democratic right to vote when you're in the diaspora? Is it easy? Is it doable? If I'm imagining this world where there's 1 million, 2 million Kenyans in the diaspora voting in 2027.
It's not easy because we have a regulation 32, that we have already submitted a proposal to actually either repeal it or amend it, which says that we can only go to the embassy or a consulate to register and vote. I live in Dallas. The embassy is in DC. Driving alone to DC is 23 hours. Coming back is 23 hours, so that's 46. If I was to spend my ticket, at least on average, I'm going to spend about $2,000. How many people will be willing to travel from Dallas? Where, something fun about Dallas, Dallas is the only city that you have most Kenyans. So 70,000 are actually, approximately 7,000 Kenyans are in Dallas. So how many of them, and I'll tell you, I was the agent in 2022 election, there was none from Dallas who came to vote in DC. Only around 5 people from Atlanta, wale sasa tuko like diehards, wachama. So it's quite unfortunate. So the distance and the cost doesn't make sense. So that's why we are saying let us amend or repeal that section to allow us have mobile polling centers in those cities. We can map them out. Like Rwanda did it last year.
How did they do it?
So just to give a context, we are the big brothers to Rwanda.
So we keep saying.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. In terms of remittance, Rwanda is at 0.5 billion. I have $1 billion.
We are big brothers.
We are big brothers.
Okay.
They are in the last election. They're about 500,000 Rwandese in the diaspora, and
last 10th of us.
Yeah. So we are many. And last election, they had 160 polling stations across the diaspora. In the US, there were 17. So they mapped out where watu wetu wako wapi, Minnesota, Dallas, Sacramento, Seattle, across. You know how much they spend on that? About 600 million Kenya shillings. Right? So,
Budget ya IBC
budget wamepewa, I think.
It was about 600 million to have those 17.
No, to have 60
polling stations in America alone.
No, across the world.
Okay.
Across the world. There are 44 missions of Rwanda in the diaspora. We have about 70 or so. So I'm like, I don't want to use other countries in Europe. People be like, oh, you know, I'm using our own classic African example. South Africa did the same. You know, why not Kenya? I've seen the AG talk about, we have reached out to the AG on this, and she talks about, I don't know, agreements, bilateral, what. And I laughed, actually. Because when it comes to, we have the Article 25 of the International Vienna Convention, we can participate in public affairs. You just need to have country-to-country relationship. Like today, maybe Ukraine and Russia don't have a good relationship, so people will not vote in that. They will not allow that. But you have so many countries that we have goodwill with them.
We're not at war with anyone.
Yeah. So it's just MFA writing to them and say, this is what our people will be participating on this particular time, these particular dates, and they're aware. All they need is just to be aware, nothing else.
Yeah.
The right
I'd
to
like to
vote is
compare
also,
this.
sorry, the right, wouldn't you call it then suppression of a right?
It is.
To vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
This whole thing is basically saying we are not even following our constitution because the right to vote is constitutionally guaranteed and even talks about Kenyans in the diaspora, right?
Yeah.
In 2022, you are an agent, and so Kenyans voted in Washington and in our consulate in LA.
Yes, and New York.
And New York as well.
Yeah.
So 3 places
Yes.
where Kenyans voted.
Yeah.
Rwanda, which year did Rwanda have its election?
2024.
Last year, 2024,
Yes.
Rwandans voted.
Yeah.
In America, how many centers do they have again?
They only have one. They only have the embassy in DC.
And how many polling?
17.
They had 17 polling centers.
Yes.
Kenya had 3 polling centers.
Yes.
Okay. How did we do ours? So people were supposed to travel from across the United States of America to come to either New York or LA or Washington to register first, and then later
verify,
and then later come vote.
Yeah.
Okay. How did the Rwandans do it? Did they do the same things? Did they have to travel into these 17 areas to register?
I think it's just the registration. Rwanda has a very robust technology, so they're using a lot of technology in the diaspora, and this is something we have already suggested to the IBC, and I've talked to them, and they say part of their strategic plan is to actually to do pre-registration and to book appointments. So they want to do how many people are booking this particular area. But I was like, if you use the country, you need to narrow it down to cities. If you just say, okay, book your appointment, and you say the country, and you just put those 3 stations, people will not, because why am I going to DC for? You know,
Only
and they look at the
and
current status in the country, they're like, mbona nienda hata kuregister kuvote?
What's the point? I want to continue with this thread.
Yes.
So
they're using technology.
How many Kenyans registered to vote in America in 2022?
I think there are less than 500, because DC has about 302 in DC.
So about 500.
About 500
people.
Yeah.
And Rwanda, how many were participated in the votes last year?
77,000.
77,000 people in a state alone?
No, across the diaspora.
In America alone, do you know?
I don't have the exact figure, but
we can
higher.
extrapolate.
It's higher.
We can extrapolate and say.
Because, of course, it was the largest bloc to vote. Most of Rwandans are in the US.
And the US.
Yeah.
They used tech.
Yeah.
And they also traveled to the 17 areas.
Which are closer to them. And so there was also motivation to participate in the election. Yeah. What reasons were you given by the Kenyan authorities for not establishing more centers? Budget.
Second reason?
The law. I think the
Regulation 32, this one that says it can only happen in
the DC
or embassy or consulate. Okay. So there's the law, and then there's the budgetary allocation.
But my question is, how come other countries that have the mission did not participate? Like Stockholm is our regional embassy for Scandinavian countries, Norway, Finland, but they did not participate.
It was not opened as a polling station?
Yeah, no.
So we have an embassy in Stockholm, but the embassy was not a polling center.
No.
It almost sounds like there's no political goodwill.
Yeah, so the issue with budget, I had a discussion with the PS at the Treasury, and IBC have been doing what we call a blanket budget. They don't itemize diaspora that give us this money for voter registration in diaspora, for voter education diaspora, for voting. They don't do that. So wanapewa maybe budget blank, alafu wanakuja hapo na wanatufinyilia.
Wanaanza kuangalia diaspora ni ngapi.
Yeah. So this time round we are like, no.
Yeah.
Itemize it. And we told the PS, and if they'll be able to go them, they'll tell them, guys, we need the diaspora in your budgeting terms. So without it, then we are not going to. You
told the PS, was it another yes, we look into it? Or do you get a sense that maybe this is something they'll prioritize?
So we made the PS for planning. Of course, you plan, then the next PS is the one who approves the whatever you plan. So I've asked IBC to give us what they used in 2017, how much was it for diaspora, how much was it in 2022, and what is their projection for diaspora in 2027. They haven't answered that question. So that's part of the discussion, that they should do that, because if you come and say just the budget and you're not telling me how much, it doesn't make sense.
Lenny on YouTube, it'll be even harder now that they know what the diaspora guys are up to. Politicians will do anything to curtail the progress. James Wamalu amekusalimia, by the way.
Thank you.
This is Danson Mukile, my schoolmate. But yeah, going to Lenny, which is like, he's essentially projecting that they'll frustrate it even further.
So when I was coming up with the technical working group, we did the SWOT analysis. So we looked at what are some of the things we'll go. So we expect that to happen. Some of the members of parliament actually have told us to face. Not texting, but to face.
Wakisema?
Iya sikupei. Very unfortunate. Then you go to others, they're like, yeah, you have to get this. So it is both sides. But in Kenya, we all know our members of parliament, there's a master they speak to. Yeah, so we talk to the masters. We met with the Honorable
Odinga.
Yeah. We discussed this, and actually he gave a suggestion that diaspora should have an early voting, whereby the way you do in the US, given some time. He gave us a good suggestion. But he's in for it. Next week, you'll be meeting the president to also anchor this to him. We met with this party. So what I'm trying to say is we have sought the political goodwill, because all these things, they need political goodwill. What is in for them?
Yeah.
The State Department, inafanya?
So it's been facilitating. Of course, for them is to facilitate. They have really been helping us, scheduling meetings, doing follow-ups for us. But the buck stops at the parliament and also the big political boys in town.
You, Danson, in ahead of the last election, we had conversations with you, and you were very active and engaging the political sides. You ended up, you chose a side, and you were openly supporting that side. But you spoke to these people. Those in your camp that supported Kenya Kwanza, those in your camp in diaspora that were supporting Azimio, were all speaking to the same people that you're speaking to today. And you assured us that they've given you assurances that should we win, both Azimio leaders and Kenya Kwanza leaders, we are going to do this and the other. Have they ticked the boxes of what they had promised that they would do?
Yes, they have some. I was supporting the president in the UDA party. We had the Diaspora Manifesto, and number one was to give us a ministry for diaspora, of which we got the State Department. So to us, it was really good. Another issue was to address what was happening in the Middle East. I know this issue is still continuing, but the containment has really happened. Number two was the services, the government services to the diasporian. It will take about several months to just renew a passport. But today, I can say, unless ukona issues na document zako, on average, it will take you 2 weeks to get your passport renewed. We are given top priority at the Nyayo for diaspora. So I'll say that is something has been going on well. Something has not delivered is the diaspora legislation. The bill, I know the PS told me that it is in the works. So that legislation, because unfortunately our diaspora has not been legislated. That's why wanatupikianga tu wanahepa, because hakuna mahali unaweza shika in law. So we are trying to do a legislation. The diaspora bill is in works. Something hasn't delivered is the council, because as you know, kila mtu diaspora ni kiongozi. You think you've heard that?
There's so many diaspora.
We are very much disunited.
Yeah.
Tuko na vyama mingi sana huko, quote and quote.
Yeah, I was going to ask the diaspora technical working. I was actually going to ask, what is it? I was going to take us all the way back. What is it? Yeah.
So what I did, there has been attempts on uniting leaders to work on a common cause, but it's been hard because most people come, they create an organization, then wanna register, then it becomes a personal vehicle for a certain gain. So what I did was to just reach out to leaders and say, can we just set up a technical, like a committee? That's how it is. But now comprising of leaders across
the diaspora. Different around
countries.
The world. Okay.
Yeah, so we are about 115 from about 37 countries. And most of them are leaders in their session. We are nani partisan, so hapo ndani utapata watu wa UDA, ODM, Wiper, tuko na DCP as well, the new baby in town. So we said, why can't we just focus on this? But I thank God I've been leading that team. They're very professional. But what has been happening previously was munaanzisha kitu, but the captain
breaks off.
And a break off. So yeah, so that is what all about the technical working group.
Yeah, some of the other issues before we even come back to the voting bloc and the significant influence diaspora has, which should be recognized.
Yes.
I know that there's some countries where do Kenyans feel safe enough or heard enough by the embassies? I always feel like there's a disconnect. You know, you'll find countries that welcome people and say, if you have any issue, you'll find us here. If you're struggling, if you get into trouble, whatever it is, we'll intervene. It feels like there's a bit of a disconnect with various embassies around the world with how they treat diaspora.
That is very true. Unfortunately, our foreign officers, they have not been having good relationship with the diasporian. And we have been suggesting, and PS actually captured this, that let us have diaspora officers, people who have actually been trained to handle the diaspora. Because it's in Kenya, but foreign officers have been trained on foreign policy, so they handle us like
foreigners.
So that's why there's been having a disconnect. We have been pushing for a budget to have officers specifically trained to handle our issues. Some of them will be volunteering on it as well. So that's been the main disconnect. Another thing is our embassies are underfunded.
So we'll get to the funding of embassies. Just hold that thought, because we have a caller and I don't want to lose them before they ask their question. Samuel from Kirinyaga, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your question or comment for Danson?
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your question or comment? All right. Okay. Let's get back. Yes, the underfunding of embassies.
Yes, so our embassies are underfunded, and the staffers get really frustrated. And there are reasons. I actually find out why. So if you go to the DC embassy, for instance, we have immigration, and under immigration, you'll find that wale wanapeana ID ni wa interior, wale wanapeana passport no immigration by the under consular services. So you found that interior ita release pesa mapema ifikie watu wake. So you can imagine your colleague anapata na ingine medley, right? So there's no universe. Then they're given less money. You know, there's been austerity measures, things like that. So we understand their frustration, but at the end of it all, Wakenya pia kwa handle sio rahisi. Mkenya ni Mkenya.
But still has a right to be handled. You know, you want to go somewhere and know if there's something I'm not sure, if I get into a situation that was beyond my control, I'll have a consulate that will.
But
you know something funny?
The Kenyans out of control.
Something funny
I want to hear.
Is that the person in that embassy is a diaspora. at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
Had not clocked it.
Yeah.
Own to a diaspora.
No, Eric,
Ako.
they're not diaspora.
No,
Because when you're in
in-
an embassy, you're on Kenyan soil.
Yeah. But
No, not really. Eric, I'll tell you this. Being a diaspora, you have to experience many things in that particular
Right.
country.
umekuja na shida.
Yeah. So
culture,
ukikuwa diaspora, the culture. So at the embassy, you are kind of confined at this particular place. So you are always in diplomatic space, things like that. But ukiwa diaspora,
Maisha London,
outside,
yeah.
Uko shielded.
kuna vitu uko nje, you're able to have a different experience out there.
Ah, yeah.
Then also handling our second generation. Unona, we have our children there, and you are at the embassy. So wow, one understand the system, how system works, and she calls us like, this Kenyan embassy, you know, no phone is picked up. I can call their own government, things flow. So there's that this link. Yeah.
You were saying Wakenya.
You're difficult.
Oh, difficult. Wait, who is difficult?
To Maisha. The second generation Kenyans who are used to another way. I mean, they were born
Systems.
and raised. They're used to these systems at work.
Yeah.
And then they get the frustration of somebody's telling you, go to counter 5.
Yeah.
And they're not saying what. And then now there's a Kenyan like you who has grown up in Kenya, and then you've gone to America and experienced this system that works. Alafu pia wewe unapeleka nini yako huko.
Kila Mkenya, I always feel
Oh my God.
we are entitled. Yeah, we feel, Mkenya is very entitled. Yeah, and unfortunately, I've been looking at how we interact with our public officers here in government. So tuko na hiyo notion, tukitoka huku,
Sisi
that
ni wa
our
majuu.
sisi ni wa majuu. Then when you see an officer maybe just came in 1 year ago, so, and I've been living here in the US for 30 years, 40 years. You just came in, So
Unataka kuwafunza kazi, eh?
yeah. So
Okay.
Mkenya ni yule, but we've been managing. And one of the things that actually has caused this link is because we don't have a governance structure in the diaspora. As much as we have associations, but hazina ile impact that you'll say. Most of the associations we have, the events, they just created for events. We used to have a very memorial, I know maybe most people do. In Dallas, we used to have what we call memorial weekend, where people across, Kenyans across the US will actually book hotels, come to enjoy. It's no longer there, kwa sababu people realize this can be a money-making,
Become a biashara.
They didn't look at the socialization, the big picture that our kids can come and meet other Kenyans, network. Now they came up, tengeneza association and a pool. Then we bring in tribalism. Diaspora is so... Tribal line is very deep. Especially political tribalism is very, very deep.
Yeah.
So the people from Mount Kenya region, they form the association. Wanasukuma event yao. The Kisi wanatengeneza yao. They push the event. Wale wa Rift Valley wanatengeneza yao. Waluya wanatengeneza yao. Then Memorial Weekend is
scattered.
So labda voting block nategemea ni same tu na.
Yeah, likely.
Yeah.
That's true.
There wouldn't that be at we are voting diaspora, we have a diaspora candidate, unless it will take a while to convince them to take a diaspora candidate. That's why these politicians go to these countries to engage with their groups
and to plant
that are
those.
fundraising. So
Right.
there are groups
yeah,
in the
it's
diaspora.
normally tribal.
It's tribal
groups.
visits. Is it the same with? Is
Kama
there,
hii weekend,
even the younger?
Alafu tutasema
Kosiato.
then we put there
Cousin Ari-
diaspora, but it's not actually diaspora,
Yeah.
the whole of it.
Mbona
It's just
unajua
that-
watu wa Seattle? Wamekufanyia nini?
Kazi na Kosiato.
Kazi. Oh, hi, Kazi.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Before I forget, younger demographic, youth, I think diaspora, they're mobilizing, they're active.
Yeah.
Is there a huge disconnect between
Them and
Gen
their
Z
parents.
diaspora and are they shifting that culture?
So what I would say, the second generation, they are the ones that will change this country, because for them, when you tell, so you are a Kikuyu, like, so what does that mean?
Can't even speak that language.
If this person is not doing the right thing, we don't need to vote him in, So they are very clear on the tribal lines. So for them, they focus on social issues and economic issues. So there's a dislink between them with Kenya, but inside their groups, they're actually discussing, especially those parents who are really connected to the country. But kuna wale wazazi wenye wakienda huko wanazama, wanasahau, then their kids will not even know what is going on. Just come for holidays.
Which is a challenge I wanted to raise, that many of the second generation Kenyans don't have that relationship with Kenya. They just know Kenya is shags. It's like, what relationship do you have with your shags? You know?
Very true.
So,
good point.
How do we make...
Even language, dare I say, so many Kenyans in the diaspora, younger ones, will speak English and Kikuyu or Luo in their mother tongue, right? But no Kiswahili.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So the relation is maybe to your community and to your family, but not to the country. Is that link really?
Yeah, it is. It is there. Actually, you find she can even hear when Mama is speaking Kikuyu or Kalenjin, but akiongea Kiswahili, she's out.
Yeah.
So there's that huge dislink. And, people go to the diaspora for many reasons. And in 90s, those who went in 90s, there was political persecution. So kama ametoka, ataki kuangalia nyuma. I don't want anything to do with the country. Like for us, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You went searching for opportunity,
yeah,
not
opportunities,
running from.
not running.
There was no persecution. Yeah.
So we have diaspora generation that has been going to the diaspora, and they have different perspective about the country.
That's interesting. We have El Likuyani. It's important to state that the Kenyan diaspora is a major stakeholder in championing human and political rights in Kenya. We, therefore, should be considered a partner rather than anti-peace. So I believe El
That's my friend.
Likuyani.
He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, he's a friend of yours.
He's in Belgium.
He's quite active in the diaspora circles as well. Right?
Yes, yes.
So in this push, now you said you've come here and you're many people from the diaspora under the technical working group, and you are having various conversations, particularly on the issue of voting.
Yeah.
So we have a new IEBC. There's still conflict whether so on.
You and I know those are the guys who will be in the office.
Yeah. So we have a new IEBC. You have got, all these budgets that are being prepared now. What is your hope that we'll have more polling centers in 2027?
My hope is first the chairman, the incoming chairman. He's an ex-diasporian. Out of the commissioners I've seen, we have few who are a diasporian, meaning they have lived and worked in the diaspora, so they know our issues at hand. We are hoping that once they resume office, we'll have a discussion with them. Of course, we have submitted our memorandum to the Secretariat already, but we'll have a conversation with them. And we're not just waiting for them, we are still pushing. We have an active petition in the High Court. I'm the principal petitioner in this. So we are using all means possible. Wasikuwe na excuse, because when you're talking to the Secretariat, they said, our hands are tied. We created these regulations, but you see we need the Parliament to amend them. And I'm asking just the chair of JLAC, that's Honorable Murugara. Regulations are amended at the committee level. Or Justice and Legal Affairs Committee in the National Assembly.
Yes.
The regulations are amended at the committee level. They don't need to go to the floor of the House. They have them. We didn't ask them to do it. We did everything for them. We looked at the law. We did research. We say, this is even the language.
You've done half the work.
We have done actually more than half.
3/4 of the work.
Wow, to click the switch. Yeah, that's it. So we are hoping that they will be able to accomplish, and we hope that many people will be able to vote in 2027 in the diaspora.
So the regulation changes. We repeal that regulation that says voting can only take place at embassy or consulate. But you just told us there was an embassy where voting didn't take place. What then? So let's remove that. But budgetary allocation, making sure that you mobilize in time. How many months do you have to the next election? Not much.
Yeah. So when we had a conversation with IBC, we said, let us meet halfway, right? What do you normally spend most? Logistics of the ballot or the personnel? We can help with the personnel. They don't need to send people from Kenya to come to Dallas or Seattle to help us vote.
Doesn't make sense.
They can actually register agents. We see here teachers, being agents in polling stations. Why not diaspora? They are Kenyan citizens. So the embassy in that specific region can do
A training.
Can recruit and train.
help them. They can send their officers. So we can meet halfway. And if I'm the agent of IBC, I don't need to be paid. So utalipwa nini? You just do the shift, just call off from work, we just good time, say I'll be off for 2 days to do this particular work, and
As
that's
the
it.
presiding officer, you're in that particular station.
Yeah.
Or the returning
So
officer.
then another thing, as the technical working group, we have a good network. Some of our members actually have deep connection with the private developing partners, and they are willing to help IBC on the budget as well. So we are not just doing this for the sake of doing. Tumejipanga.
How far have you gone? I mean, have you been able to mobilize resources and say, we actually have a kitty here of X amount of money that can be used? You know,
I was going to ask
The question is, how should
you need to go several steps ahead. Don't give the money yet.
Yeah.
But say, here it is, in terms of this is where we want the number of polling centers in America. We want to move from 3 to 70. Okay? Here is where we propose them to be.
Yeah.
This is how much it will cost to run this polling center.
Yes.
We need how many polling clerks, who's going to be a returning officer, this number of people per center. And this is how much it will cost to run it. We shall mobilize the money. Here is already expression of interest. Money is available. Move. Otherwise, there'll be a whole conversation about regularization of that money. Money has to come to the National Treasury, to leave the National Treasury, to go to the IBC, to leave the IBC, to come to...
So
You're
tujipange, I think we'll be doing that as a technical working group. As I've said, we have those who have expressed interest. So some of the questions they're asking, are you sure it will work out? So that we're like, let's go clear the way, the law be amended, and set up the regulations. Then we go back. But they are more than willing, actually. And some of them have work with the IBC, and we just be going, hey, ongeza mkono kidogo for the sake of diaspora.
Yeah. When it comes to the expression of your civil liberties, last year we saw quite a number of Kenyans in the diaspora protesting in solidarity with us here. They went to embassies or on the streets. How was that received? And then given that there's 4 or 5 million Kenyans in the diaspora remitting in the hundreds of billions, what push is there from Kenyans in the diaspora to push back against the civil liberties that we're seeing being curtailed? Is it lobbying? Is it,
Yes. So, and this was something I've been telling even our legislators. Diaspora is a force. Actually, the protest last year, especially in DC, it sent a huge message. I think even you saw the US reacting.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have some of
well into the Kenyans in the diaspora.
Absolutely.
I think we sometimes forget to name them because they are actively doing it, but as we are on the streets, they're also...
Yeah, Paris, Australia, to so many countries.
Yeah. So it is there, and it is their right, because we are the stakeholder, we are partners in this country, and this will not stop. They will continue once there's something going on. So the voices will always be there, and more are actually coming up.
Okay.
So if there will be another protest in the diaspora, you'll see it is much bigger because people are now organizing themselves up to raise their voices. You have seen how people go to streets for Israel or for Palestine. So it will be the same. So they're working on it. I'll just tell the president and his team that the diaspora is a force. Take them in as a partner because the reaction is there because they really participate, not just going to the streets, but actually they were supporting the protesters here. They paid some of the medical bills of people who went to the hospital. They supported them buying even water and everything.
Absolutely.
So they did a lot in the last protest. So diaspora is a force. So it should be taken as a partner, not as an enemy.
I like that. Maybe also from a lobbying perspective, there's something we can see, some push. Because, you come out in your individual capacity, you donate in your individual capacity, you send money home in your individual capacity. But as a block, is there, maybe you could see a push for justice, for example, for Albert Ojwang, for Boniface Karaoke, and so on and so forth, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is there, and we are reaching out. For example, for people in the US, we have more access to some of these NGOs that are here for satellite offices. So it is easy to walk in the office and they see things. X has been one of the force, not just in Kenya but across the world. The current president of US won because of X. So you can imagine how much. So social media is part of the platform that diaspora are using. And yeah,
Kenyans on Twitter, whether abroad or at home, are forced to reckon with.
Right.
For sure.
Yes.
I just think it's such a missed opportunity with the diaspora. It's wild. Like, it's right in front of you. The opportunity, the money that exists, the partnership, the wits. I'm like, I don't know, it's not shikanishaing, but it's frustrating because I think there's so much value that diaspora bring, Kenyans the diaspora. It's just sad that it misses the mark. But you can see it. You can literally see the numbers.
Right there.
They're right there. So, yeah. Okay.
So we are hoping that even many institutions will partner with the diaspora. One of the examples is the Empath program in MTRH Eldoret. It's been there for almost 35 years, and it has served over 24 million Kenyans, and that's a diasporian program.
Yeah.
The people who are in it, in leading that program, actually she's here, one Professor Jerona, she's part of that program. And she said, if we can amplify this to different institutions, different our hospitals, it will be huge.
It will be huge. Thank you so much. We have Your World coming next, passing the baton, theater, then and now, changing the face of Kenyan performance. Mtu YouTuber amesema, we are waiting for Winnie Lubembe, anakuja. We are leaving, pole basi. We're leaving. And Mukile will be hosting today.
Today's Mukile, not Winnie. Danson Mukile, lead Diaspora Technical Working Group, has been our guest. We've been talking about, diaspora, the rights of the people in the diaspora to vote, to participate in the democratic governance of their country, and to make decisions for their country. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Latif.
And all the best. Say hello to
nimekuja Royco. As I always say.
Thank you.
That's what says a farmer's juice.
Yes.
Na majani chai.
Majani chai.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting.
Asante. But you can go to YouTube, by the way, and you'll find an interview that happened last night, between our editor-in-chief, Joe Ageo, and Chief Justice Emeritus, David Maraga, where he openly and directly declared that he will be on the ballot in 2027. He has declared that, he is going to be the presidential ticket and in the race. And they talked about various issues, what's happening currently, the quest for justice, the push for the rule of law, better governance. You'll find it, go to NTV Kenya, and the interview is called The Law Under Siege, David Maraga's verdict, one-on-one with the former Chief Justice. Thank you for tuning in today. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll be here. We'll be having more conversations, particularly on issues of you want to supply to the government. What's the easier way of doing it? And so on and so forth. Have a lovely day. It's Mariam Bishar, Janet Bogo, Eric Latif. It's 10 a.m. No, it's 5 to 10. Your World coming up next.